All right, welcome back, class, to another explainer. Today we are absolutely tackling one of physics' most essential, yet honestly, frequently misunderstood concepts, and I am so excited to get into it. We're talking about the invisible forces that govern the movement of energy. Whether you're studying for a big exam or you're just naturally curious about how the universe actually operates, really grasping the difference between electric potential and potential energy is your key to unlocking the secrets of electricity.
Okay, let's just quickly breeze through the syllabus for today. We'll hit Section 1, the spark of electricity, followed by height versus stored energy. Then, the math made simple, powering the real world, and we'll wrap the whole thing up by clearing up some stubborn common myths.
So, Section 1, the spark of electricity. Let's trace the historical pedigree of electricity for a second. Way back around 600 BCE, the Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus noticed static electricity when rubbing amber with fur, but it wasn't until the year 1600 that William Gilbert systematically studied this and coined the term electricus. From there, things really accelerated. Coulomb mapped out the actual mathematics of how charges repel and attract. Then, in 1800, Alessandro Volta, the guy whose name literally gives us the volt, invented the very first practical battery. And finally, Faraday and Maxwell proved that charges don't just act over distances instantly, they actually create these invisible fields all around them.
Moving right along to Section 2, height versus stored energy.
Before we touch a single equation today, class, we absolutely need to define our two core terms, electric potential and electrostatic potential energy. Now, they sound nearly identical, but mixing them up is the #1 mistake I see students make. Let's start with electric potential. Think of electric potential strictly as the location-based capability for energy. It tells us how much energy each coulomb of charge would have if it were placed at a specific location in an electric field. Notice how this concept depends only on the position itself, not on the actual amount of charge you're placing there.
Now contrast that with electrostatic potential energy. This is the total energy actually stored in a system of electric charges. It depends not just on the position, but on the real amount of charge you have, and exactly how it interacts with the surrounding field and other charges. Whenever charges attract or repel each other, boom, energy is stored right there in that system.
To really visualize this, just imagine a mountain. The physical height of that mountain represents your electric potential. It's completely fixed based on location. The gravitational energy of a backpack sitting at the top, well, that's your potential energy. A much heavier backpack stores way more energy at the exact same height. So the height doesn't change, but the stored energy absolutely changes depending on what you actually carry up there.
We can also think of this like an everyday water tank. Electric potential is exactly like the water pressure created by the physical height of the tank. The higher the tank, the greater the pressure, or voltage, pushing the water through the pipes. The water flow itself is your electric current. And a battery? Well, that just acts like the water pump, keeping everything flowing smoothly through the system.
All right, Section 3, the math made simple.
Don't worry about algebra anxiety here. Let's step up to the virtual chalkboard. Because these are scalar quantities, meaning they have magnitude but no direction, we can just use simple numbers to add them together. The absolute crucial point is our first formula, V equals W over Q. This simply means that electric potential, or voltage, is equal to the work done divided by the electric charge. Remember, 1 volt perfectly equals 1 joule of energy per coulomb of charge.
Let's look at a super quick example. If it takes 20 joules of external work to push a 4 coulomb charge up against an electric force to a specific point, the math is incredibly straightforward. 20 divided by 4 gives us a highly manageable 5 volts. So that point in space has an electric potential of exactly 5 volts.
But what if we want to find the total stored energy? To find the potential energy, which we physicists love to represent with the letter U, we just reverse our equation. U equals Q times V. You just multiply the amount of charge by the electric potential of its location.
So, if you have that exact same 4 coulomb charge sitting at a location that has an electric potential of 15 volts, well, 4 times 15 gives us exactly 60 joules of stored, ready-to-use electrical energy. It really is that simple. You find the location's voltage, multiply it by your charge, and boom, you have your stored energy. Which brings us to Section 4, powering the real world.
Class, it's time for a quick field trip out of the textbook to see how these invisible numbers power our highly visible world. From the camera flashes in your pocket that utilize rapid discharge capacitors to massive particle accelerators moving charged particles to treat cancer, Electric potential is literally the hidden engine of modern technology. Even power stations use transformers to ramp up voltage so that electricity can travel across high-voltage power lines with minimal energy loss.
And notice how the potential difference drastically scales up depending on the job at hand. Your standard AA battery creates a tiny chemical potential difference of just 1.5 volts. A car battery bumps that up to 12 volts to turn over a heavy engine. But in a naturally occurring lightning storm, that builds up such a massive difference between the clouds and the earth that it requires hundreds of millions of volts to literally break down the air and create a strike.
But it's not just heavy machinery out there. It's biology too. Your own human nervous system relies on tiny changes in electric potential to transmit signals. Doctors constantly monitor the localized voltage changes across your cell membranes to run an ECG, an EEG, or to diagnose complex cardiovascular diseases. You are, quite literally, electric.
And finally, Section 5, Clearing Up Common Myths.
Let's do a quick pop quiz to wrap up our explainer and bust some of the most common myths that consistently trip up physics students everywhere. Question 1. Have you ever heard someone use the terms voltage and energy interchangeably when talking about a battery or a power outlet? It happens all the time, right?
Well, here is your reality check. Voltage is emphatically not energy. They are completely different quantities. Just think back to our mountain analogy. Voltage is just the height of the slope. It only measures the potential energy available per unit of charge. It is absolutely not the heavy, energy-filled backpack itself.
Let's try another one. If an electric charge is completely free to move in space, does it always climb up to a higher potential? Just picture a ball on a hill.
Actually, scratch that. It depends entirely on the charge itself. Positive charges naturally roll downhill from a higher electric potential to a lower potential. But electrons, which are the primary movers in all our electronics, are inherently negatively charged. Because of this, electrons are actually pulled uphill toward a higher potential. It's a bit counterintuitive, but absolutely crucial to remember.
And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. So I'll leave you with this one thought. Next time you pick up your smartphone, ask yourself how those brilliantly controlled, tiny differences in electric potential are effortlessly pushing billions of electrons uphill every single second just to keep you connected to the world? It's not magic, it's just really good physics. Thanks so much for learning with me today.